Hello and welcome to this video. And today I'm going to share with you some work that I've been doing over the last few weeks, if not months actually, because there's more than what you see on the screen here with these wall components or floor components, depending on what you want to, or how you want to use them really. Like I say, I've been working on these kind of assets for a few, well, probably a couple of months now, maybe a bit longer. And not just this set, but many others as well. And why is that? Why have I not created any videos about this? Or why is this the first video now, basically? So the reason for that is simply because whether you're aware or not, I have an add-on called BB Toolkit Pro and Free. This is the add-on here. Now this may look slightly different. If you have this already, it may look a little bit different to you, to the version you have, simply because notice at the top there, we have a new section called Assets. Okay, so here we have a Reload Library button and some drop downs, which obviously are models and materials at the moment. Okay, so the idea is that everything that I'm showing you in this video is something that I'm working towards adding these to the add-on for free. Okay, I say for free, but this is for the Pro version. All of the assets I'll be creating on an ongoing basis will be added to the Pro version for free. So what I want to do today is focus on showing you what I've been doing in terms of the assets. And I'm only going to show you the wall section, which I have been working on and off for the last few weeks. So I try to fit this in when I can, when I have time. So with that said, I'm going to turn on the wireframe. And things look a little bit more dense now, which is good. And hopefully that gives you an idea of my approach on how I've modeled these and the reason why I've made them in such a way. I'll try to explain that. And I'm not saying this is the right way to do something, by the way. This is something that I enjoy doing, and the purpose or the process I'm taking here is very much not to use modifiers. Because normally, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll notice that when I create something, I'll model it with a kind of open-ended objective. So what does that mean? So for example, if I was to model something like this here, where you have these bends and corners and rounded edges, I would probably add some supporting edge loops and add a subdivision modifier, which is also just here, by the way, and add some more modifiers, perhaps like bevel and other things like that, solidify, and so on. That's not the case here. The only add-on I may use here is to facilitate the modeling process itself. So, for example, if I switch to the front view with the one on the numpad, you can see a lot of these assets are fairly symmetrical. And that's on purpose because I can just model half of it. Obviously, this part here isn't symmetrical, which is nice. It kind of breaks up the symmetry a little bit. But that makes it easier for me just to add a mirror modifier and then mirror them in the X and maybe the Z as well. So that's the only modifier I would use, and then I'd apply that modifier when I'm done. And I believe all of these, okay, not this one here, you can see there, here's a good example. Let's bring that into focus. And you can see how I've got the mirror modifier. So if I turn this off, at the moment, and I'm not entirely sure I'm happy with this asset just yet, it looks a little bit too plain. I'll turn that off. I mean, if you want a bit of visual rest space, as they say, that would be a nice one to just put in and repeat. But I think it might be missing something, but I'll figure that out later on. Anyway, back to my point. So yeah, the mirror modifier really helps here to, rather than me having to recreate this from scratch, I can just mirror it, of course. So that's what you would do as well. And for optimization reasons, in fact, my line's slightly off there. For optimization reasons, once I apply this, like this, I would then go into edit mode, and you'll notice we don't really need this center edge loop there, or these edge loops. It just adds more geometry, right? So I would select those two, hold down Control and delete, and that will dissolve the edges. If you're not pressing Control Delete, perhaps you're on a Mac, I can't remember if it's Command or Alt on a Mac. Either way, if you press the Delete key or X, that will bring up the Delete menu, and you can dissolve edges from there. And the shortcut for that is Control Delete on the PC. let's add a plane. So I'll click my plane object there in the add-on. If we don't have that, Shift A, of course, mesh plane to add that. And there's our plane there. Let's move that to the side and rotate that on the x-axis 90 degrees. So I'm going to press R for rotate, X for the x-axis, 90, and enter. That gives us that panel there. I want that to be aligned with the others just for consistency. So we can see under here along the y-axis, we're just in the negative. So I'm going to put that back to the 0 location. So that'll do. And finally, what I find really useful in the add-on as well is we've got this apply. The add-on will warn you and it detects non-default values for location, rotation, and scale. So in this, as you know, we just rotated that 90 degrees. So that's not 0 anymore. And Toolkit Pro says, hey, let's apply that rotation. So it goes red, click the button, and it's done. If you don't have this, apply transforms or scale, hit Control A, brings up the menu, and select the one you want to apply. I hope you can see that's much quicker just by clicking the button. Right, enough of that. Let's see what we can do with this one. Let's just make it up as we go along. So let's tab into edit mode, and I'm going to be in face mode. So let's select this face. Let's think about what we're going to do now. Tell you what, let's make some loop cuts. Why not? Just came to me. So Control R, scroll your mouse wheel, get 2 cuts, click, right click, leave them at their default locations, which is perfect. Now I'm going to go to face mode. I'm going to select this face and I'm going to press I for inset. Something like that. Maybe bring it down on the Z axis so it's not as tall. Let's S for scale, Z for Z axis, bring it down somewhere like that. Let's bring that out to about there. And whilst we're doing that, let's make... Now, I mentioned earlier about rounded corners or chamfers or fillets you want to have, or bevels around edges, because that's pretty boring, right? So let's make this a bit more interesting. And let's go to edge mode. And I'm going to select all of these corner vertices. Like that. So we've got those 4 there. And I'm going to press Control B. Don't worry about what you're seeing there. In fact, we do have to worry about it because now you would think that doing a bevel, in fact, I know why it's doing that actually, sorry. Let me just do that again. Control B, and it looks like rubbish. For a moment, I thought the scale was not applied, but it is. We didn't scale it. But what's the problem? Why is it doing this? And it doesn't look right. That's because, remember when I demoed something earlier, I switched that from width type, from offset to percent. And I remembered that from last time. So if we want the offset, okay? If I increase that now you can see we're getting the default bevel, which is exactly what we want. So let's maybe have 4 cuts there. We've got a slightly rounded corner on those, which looks much more interesting now, right? Again, it looks fine. Let's right click and do Shade Auto Smooth, and that looks even better. I'm going to turn on Cavity again because I like to use this so I can see how much clearer that is now, okay? And I've increased actually the strength of the valley. The valley strength is normally 1, so it's very subtle, but it's there. So what I've done is turn that to, if I slide that, you can see the difference there. I increased it to 1.5, like so. Anyway, it helps you visualize the model better anyway. So let's tab into edit mode again. That's good. Now, because we did that bevel, it didn't go all the way to this corner. So that's something that we need to do now, that we can't have, you know, we've got this n-gon here now, and then n-gon there, and over here and down there. So let's select these and then M, merge at last. Another way to do that, rather than doing it this way, is something that you can easily use, but I don't really use it that often. If you select your, well, the select box, rather than having it on the select box tool, and select tweak instead. That enables you to move it as indicated by the cursor there, the icon. Select that. In the top right here, just over here, we have this option called Auto Merge Vertices. So if I could turn that on and then enable snapping as well, otherwise it's not going to work. If I just do that, it doesn't work. You need to snap to that vertex. So we turn snapping on and make sure you have closest enabled there. If I drag now, click and drag and let it go there, it's snapped. And if I release it, now we have one vertex in that place. So you can switch to that operation if you like and just do that. And that's a good quick way of merging things like that. Okay. Remember to turn this off afterwards as well. I like to be on select box and turn snapping off. Okay, now we've got this. It's a bit more interesting. What else can we do? Well, let's go to face mode and maybe let's add an inset there. So press I and make it something like this maybe a bit more. And offset even, very important, you turn that on if you wish. Keep it nice and consistent. And this time let's press extrude. And perhaps rather than out, let's go inwards a bit. Maybe something like that. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now again, as I mentioned earlier, demonstrated, you could have just made this separate to the plane that we had and just, slap it on top, right? But this is integrated into the plane. It's one piece, which I quite like to model this way. Again, you don't have to do that. I don't always do it as you've seen over here. These are separate pieces. That's a separate piece. That's a separate piece. These are separate pieces. You get the idea. They're separate parts because it makes sense. Just as much as these parts here are also separate. So if I highlight this one here. So these parts are not integrated into they're not part of this geometry really. They just stop at this point there. This mesh design there is not integrated into the surrounding area polygons. So we can optimize this more actually. You can select that one there and put it there. And at last, do it that way as well. But for now, I'll leave it like that. And obviously I haven't done these yet either. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Let's go back to this one. So this is cool. What else can we do? Well, let's get some highlights, catch highlights on the edges. If I turn the wireframe off, yeah, it looks like we have there, but that's only because we have cavity on. Turn that off. It just looks invisible now. You can't even see that front face. Let's turn that back on, cavity. So what I like to do, as I've done everywhere on these panels, is select this edge loop here and here. Just zoom in there, you can see that. Press Ctrl B and bring it out. Scroll your mouse wheel to get one segment. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm using 0.005 as my default value. So I'll give it that amount of fillet or chamfer or bevel. So now we have that. So if I turn off cavity now, you can still see we have this object quite clearly visible now. And that should work the same way in-game or in a render as well. Cool. That's much nicer now. So there's two things you can do from this stage. You can either, what's the point of this part here, right? What are we doing here? Now, is that going to be something else? Like maybe do we do another inset, another extrude, do something else like that? Or is that going to be left like this and we put something on top of it? Maybe some of these detail panels or a very large keypad with other stuff or a palm scanner, that kind of thing. So think about what you want to do there, add some detail. Say we wanted to add some of these slats there, vents or whatever you want to call them, whatever it can be there. Let's focus here. So first of all, we don't have to build the slats into this. Okay, it's going to be way too many polygons coming off of the individual slats. So let's clean this model up a little bit there inside. So we can see here we've got these rounded corners, of course. And this is one large n-gon. What I'm going to do is select this vertex, that vertex, press J, and that creates one n-gon down here and one end gone up there. Okay, and we do the same at the bottom here. Select this one and press the J key to join them. We now have that. We select this one and the one in the opposite side, press J, and that cuts through the other two lines there. So let's do the same there on this side. And with that, you can see where this is going. We can now do these into triangles. So J, 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 join these. The other thing I like to use instead of doing that way, just use the knife tool. So, which is there, which is shortcut for that is K. So I press K, here's my knife, and it will automatically snap onto edges and vertices and faces. So I'm going to click on an edge there, sorry, a vertex, click, and click on a target vertex. Now we have that. And in fact, now I can just go over here and click that one, but I can't go here. I shouldn't go there because we already have an edge. So I'm going to right click, and we're still in knife mode. Okay, we can continue cutting. So I'm going to cut from here now to there, and I'm going to right click to stop cutting, and to commit that cut, I'm going to press the enter key. There we go. Let's do the same at the bottom here. So just bring this into focus. So I'm going to press the K key again. Click, click, right click, click. It's a left click, by the way. Left click, right click, left click, right click, and right click and enter. I'll do that again, but I won't. I'll shut up this time. And voila, there we go. Lovely. That's now kosher. In fact, you can even make this more optimized. We don't really need 3, quads there. We could select both of those, M or memory, merge at last. Sorry, not at last, M at center. So we could do it that way as well. So M, sorry, not M, click, click, and then merge at center. So now we've got 2 polygons, not 3. We've saved some geometry there. But basically optimizing our model as we go along. Always good to do. So that's good. Right, let's make these lovely slats. So to do that, you can either add a plane or a cube or whatever, but you can also borrow from existing geometry. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to select this plane there, or polygon I should say. Shift D to duplicate it. Right click to leave it there. Switch to my move tool. I'm going to bring it out there just for now, so you can see what we're doing. If I switch to the front view, obviously it's the same as the other one. Let's scale that in the Z axis. So SZ, make it as thin as you like. Let's go with that. And we need this to go right across this gap. So I'm going to edge mode, select this edge, and with the move tool, click on the red one there because it's in the X axis we want to go. And remember, we need vertex snapping on, right? So we can use vertices we already have to help us put that exactly where we want it. So I'm going to click on the X, drag it. And as I do that, hold down the key and press it, the control key. Move your mouse pointer over a vertex and then release. Go to the front view. That's now perfectly aligned on either side. Okay. Right, let's get this face there now. Face mode. Let's bring it somewhere there. So just inside the ridge. Maybe it's a bit far. Let's bring it there. And we don't need to, we can just press extrude if we did this, like press extrude and do it that way, right? And then as you're extruding, you can hold down the control key again, move over this vertex there, and it will snap along the base there. Now you could do that, but you'll notice this doesn't look right. Kind of. Let's see if I'm right. Click face orientation or select it from here. And I was right. You can see there, this is now red, which means danger, Will Robinson. So the normals are facing the wrong way, but that's not the point. Let's turn that off. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to model it like that. So I'm going to undo. Nothing wrong with doing it that way, but in this case, we don't need to do that. We only want, I'll explain why we don't want to do that, so it makes more sense. Let me try and explain this properly. So if I extrude this, as I just did there, firstly, our normals may be out of whack, which is fine. We can fix that. We tab into edit mode and select, you can see there, all these normals are facing the wrong way. So we select all of these by hovering our mouse over them. Press the L key, select linked. It's all of these. You can see we've selected all of those. And face orientation on. Now, the BB Toolkit Pro also has these, I think the free version may do as well. I always forget. Recalculate normals and flip normal. So you could just select recalculate normal, see if that works. In this case, it does. It does. So if it didn't, you can just click flip normal. Okay, if it's consistently all around. So that's why I don't do it this way. And also, more importantly, that's not a big deal. More importantly is we've got faces here, here, and here. And we don't need any of those because you're not going to see them, right? Because these faces are going to be up against this edge and the back edge. Let's just delete those faces. Okay. Now you just have this kind of empty shell. That's what we want, really. Okay. So to do that, I normally do it in place over here. I don't do it here and then move it. It's such a simple thing to do. So I'll do that again. That's why we don't extrude that face firstly. Right. So if I delete these faces and go back to just this flat polygon, let me put it where I want it, there, give or take. And all I need to do is select two edges, that one, the top one and the bottom one. Press E to extrude. At the moment, it goes in every direction. So we want to lock it to the in and out, which is in this case, the Y axis. So I press the Y key. Now you can see there, we're in the right direction. Now you could eyeball this or even go through slightly. But again, vertex snapping, I want to hold down the control key, move my mouse down somewhere down here, click, and that will vertex snap that along that back edge there. You can see it's exactly lined up with that edge there, that back. So now we have that. Let's select these two edges here. Because again, we want to add a bit of a highlight to them, a catch light. So I want to do Control B and bring that out a little bit. Now I could use 0.5 here, like we did. That's my default. In fact, that might work pretty well. Sometimes I use 0.25, half a value. That would depend on the size of the object. In this case, I think 0.5 is 0.005 is the correct one to use. So now we have that. Not difficult, right? So let's select that part. So I'm going to switch to face mode. Hover over this part. Press the L key for linked. Go to my front view. And I'm going to move that up to about there. At this point, you're thinking, okay, you need to copy that and move it down manually, right? Well, you could by Shift D, Z, and then doing it like that. It's important to remember what I'm doing here. Shift D, and then I press the Z key to move it on the Z axis. I didn't click, right? I didn't stop the operation. That's important. I'm creating a macro here. So Shift D and then Z. That will bring it down like that. And then I click to leave it there. Now the fact that we did two operations in one, first one being duplicate, second one being move down on the Z axis. Now we've got that, we can press Shift R. Oops, wrong one. Oh no. There we go, Shift R. And it will repeat that operation over and over. The last one's, we don't need the last one. Okay. Now, obviously, we've got a larger gap here than we do here. So to fix that, hover over each one, press the L key, like so. There we go. And just bring them down to approximately the middle. Now, if it was me doing this properly, I would put it bang in the middle. But I'm not going to worry about it in this video. So there we have our slats. So that looks pretty cool, right? Bit of interest there. It looks rather nice. If you decide you want to make this wider, that's easy enough. You can select half of these. Oops, not that far. You can select half of these, move them over. Obviously, this is broken. We don't want to do that. So you want to select these as well, actually. Bring that over to maybe there. And notice the value here in the bottom left. So as I hover over this with my mouse, I'm going to press Control C, copy that value, Control C. And that's the value, that's the amount we moved it. You want this to be equal on both sides. I'm going to select these vertices now and move them like that. And then click here and paste. But it has to be the negative because on the other side. So negative value. Now that should be exactly the same on both sides, which it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the, in face mode, I'm going to select all of the faces around this vent effectively, or whatever this is. So I could go and manually click these, hold down Shift key. It's a bit fiddly because you've got some small ones there, like that. Or press the C key, C for Charlie, and then that becomes your brush selection. Just paint over the selection like this. Let's right click to escape that, get a better view. Let's see. Can I change the view by? No, I can't. So right click once you've got your selection. And then with that selected, I'm going to press the I key and give it an inset. Let's go with that. That worked out pretty well, actually. Yeah, I quite like that. So with that done, let's select, in fact, I'm going to undo because I want to keep the selection I've just had there. With that selected, I'm going to press E to extrude. And you could put this inwards, or you could take it out. I think looking out works quite well, but not as far as that. Perhaps maybe halfway, give or take. So let's bring that roughly there. Okay, so we got a nice recess there now. That works well. So now we've got to think about changing our original cuts because they no longer make any sense, right? We don't need this to terminate up here. We want it to terminate in the corners. So we can easily fix that by selecting vertices or edges. In this case, I'll select two edges. So you can do it this way. And with these select, press GG. So that's press the G key twice. And that will invoke edge sliding. I'm going to bring it as far as I can and click there. Now, obviously, when I do that, it hasn't merged them. Remember this, it's very important. They're not merged with the other ones. If I move it back, it's still, oops, let's bring that there. You can see it's still there. Let me switch my madcap to the red one so you can see, there we go. So it's still there. If I press GG again, bring it there. You need to merge these, right, after the fact. So just remember that. So select these, GG, all the way there. What I tend to do instead of doing it that way, so I don't feel comfortable leaving. I mean, I would merge everything anyway, but as you saw earlier, there might be some glitches or you might miss something. What I prefer to do is select this one and that one and just do M, merge at last. Because then I know I've got the job done right. Okay, there's no ambiguity there, it just works. And then I go around and do the same for all the others. So M at last, M at last, and then do that Shift R, repeat that operation. There you go. Now, of course, these ones over here are not merged, right? You can see. So I'm going to press A for everything, merge by distance, and we've got rid of 6 vertices, which is about right. So I'm going to call that a success. Let's go back to edge mode. Select everything, bring it to focus. Okay, that's looking cool. But we've got these horrible sharp corners now. Nothing wrong with that. But again, I want the bevel on these. So I'm going to tab into edit mode, select these, excuse me, select these corner edges again, like that. Press Control B. And I'm going to give that, I don't know, let's say that many cuts. Let's give them 6. Something like that. Maybe a little bit larger, actually. Let's go to there. Okay, yeah, that's good. Now we've left the mess behind. Firstly, we've got duplicate vertices here probably. Yep, because we beveled outwards into that corner. You couldn't go any further. And this one over here has cut into this. So we've got some tidying up to do. It's very easy to do. Let's get rid of these. Let's merge these first. So in wireframe or X-ray mode, like that. Select, drag the box selection over this area. Click on merge by distance. And there you go. If you don't have the add-on, I believe the command for that is M by distance there. Okay, gives you the same values. So that works. Let's go back to solid mode. Let's tidy this up now. So we need to make some merging again. This one can go over there. So M at last. This one can go here. M at last. We don't need, in fact, let's get rid of this, and this. That we can just merge that one there actually. M at last. And this one is the outliner. Let's put it, merge it there. Why have I done that? Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertices there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there. So we can't just give them straight lines. There's not enough between here and here. So now we just create cuts there with the J key. Like so. There you go. That's done. Obviously, you've got to do the other stuff over here. But you don't have to, because you notice it's quite symmetrical. Well, it is symmetrical. The only thing that's left to do now on this part anyway, until we figure out the next decision we make for modeling. Ideally, you want some sort of sketch to go, or concept of what you want to do with this before you start. But I'm kind of making it up as I go along. So with those edges selected, I'm going to press Ctrl B, scroll my mouse around to get one segment, click, put that to 0.005. So tap into edit mode. I'm going to select this face there. And I'm going to press I for inset. Remember, we have our mirror modifier, right? You can see there. So now we've got this, this polygon there. I'm just scale it in the x-axis. What I'm also going to do is select the top edge and the bottom edge. And then let's do this first. Let's subdivide those. So now we've got more vertices than we have around it. We've got 6, right? Let's also subdivide between, let's select these 2 edges, subdivide. Now we've got 8 vertices. I'm going to select all the outside ones, well, circular ones, all the outside ones. There's no inside, obviously. Right click, and for this you need loop tools, right? Enabled. Head over to preferences, add-ons, loop tools. It comes with Blender, it's free, just enable it, and it's a great tool to use for modeling. So why is that useful? Well, I've got this square shape, rectangular shape. I want it to be a circle. I can right click, loop tools, circle. Now we have a circle, right? Obviously. Let's bring that into focus. There we go. Very nice. And let's position that somewhere else. So I'm going to switch to front view. I want to move that maybe there or there. It's up to you. Obviously, you can't go over there, but you can do that here as well if you wanted to before you connect all this up. Create the hole there. I'm going to put it there. Okay. Now, if you're really pedantic, like as I am sometimes, you can that's not straight. And you could just rotate that manually like this and get it straightish. Let's go with that. What the hell? And maybe a little bit smaller. Something like that is good. And switch to face mode. And another trick for doing bevels, if you can't, I've noticed that depending on the topology like this, for example, where you got, poles and different slices in the geometry with triangles and quads, sometimes the bevel might look a little bit odd. That's because it has all these angles to try and figure out all these edges to work with. And sometimes it just doesn't look right when I do a bevel. So what I've learned to do instead just in case, especially for things like this, is before I extrude that inwards, undo that because it has extruded it. Let's make sure it hasn't done it yet. Before I do anything, I will press the I key to inset. And that's going to be my bevel, basically. I'll do that, and then, in fact, I forgot to go to the normals. When I did auto smooth there, that's 30. I want to push to 31. It does work, trust me. Anyway, back to this. And the reason I've done that is because now you watch what happens as I move this in. It will snap there. Notice that as it changed. That means you've gone beyond 31 degrees. That's where we want to be. Somewhere like that. I want it to be 45 degrees, ideally, this angle here. And that's probably not close enough, so let's maybe a bit more. Go inwards a bit more. I don't know, something like that. Okay, now you have that. Now you can press the E to extrude and bring that in. All the way to the back there by snapping it there if you want. If you really want to. Or you can leave it a bit shallow, like this. So, with that said, I'll let you crack on. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.